Hello, everyone, and welcome to Digital Love Languages Sharing Sessions, Wednesday edition. This is the second and last Zoom/Twitch stream of 10 weeks together. So thank you to everyone joining on the Zoom and on the Twitch. I'd like to start by inviting us all to honor the land where we are. Our home during Digital Love Languages for these online sessions is physically located on servers owned or contracted by Zoom, while our bodies are elsewhere. Both our servers and ourselves take up space on unceded territories. As I personally live on Lenape land in what's known as New York, a small part of my income from this class will be donated to the Lenape Center, because being a settler on stolen land to me means many things, but one of them is paying rent. Another acknowledgement I'd like to make is that all of our social identities matter in spaces of learning. In this class, we acknowledged that COVID and Black Lives Matter has different resonances for all of us based on our social identities, geopolitical location, proximity to immunocompromised people, proximity to state violence, and to class privilege. We welcomed our current social and political context to be a part of the conversation and an influence on how we relate to each other and what we make together. This is the first time I'm teaching this class. It is the first time I have taught a full semester online. So I'm really excited that it's ending, and I feel really proud of it as a collective endeavor. And of course, it's the first time that all of the students have taken the class. Digital Love Languages is a temporary school, a collection of students and stewards, a learning society, and meshed in coded systems. Over the past 10 weeks, the 34 students of Digital Love Languages Codes of Affirmation, stewarded by Adina Glickstein, Amber Officer-Narvasa, Max Fowler, and myself, have been studying together digitally across states, countries, and very significantly across time zones. Today, we will share our explorations in cultivating code as a love language that can be gentle, healing, and intimate. How do we want to live and unlearn in a post-COVID-19 world? And what role will we invite technology to play? Digital Love Languages is about building poetic tools for online communion through a reintroduction to computers and a reimagining of what computation can be. Can code be a poem, a gift, a prophecy, a love letter? This class is a call to action for expanding computation's capacity for fostering interdependence and becoming grounded in computational environments like the terminal, the browser, and the text editor. In this class, we wrote love letters in Python, HTML, JavaScript, CSS, and Bash. And for many of us, it was the first time. Digital Love Languages at the School for Poetic Computation is an invitation to participate in SFPC as a dynamic possibility space to imagine and cultivate new learning environments with and for each other. Over the past 10 weeks, we reflected on what patterns we form as a group. How are we listening to each other and showing up for ourselves and each other? Sometimes showing up for ourselves and each other means tending to other parts of our lives and missing class, and that's okay. We welcome that as a kind of digital love language. Modern societies, our technology, and their infrastructure are shaped by culture as much by our technical capabilities. We can have a voice in these systems if we choose to have one, and we can choose what to say with this voice. With this, I would like to now invite my fellow stewards, Max Fowler and Amber Officer-Narvasa, who stewarded the Wednesday section with me, and who I have been immensely lucky to share this experience with. They will now share their reflections on digital love languages and the stewardship they participated in together. I'll welcome now Max Fowler to begin.
Hey, thanks, Melanie. Yeah, yesterday for the sharing was really special for me. It just like made me reflect on this whole experience and realize like it's kind of like see it in its entirety. And also just seeing everyone's work was like really inspiring. So I'm really looking forward to doing it again today and seeing your sharing. And I just wanted to share uh, this small thing. Um, Through this class, I was inspired again, just like how simple a website can be really nice, and like even small gestures can be very moving. Um, so I just started playing with this, and I might right now it's just this comic strip on top of a background, but I also wanted to share it just to have one more. Um, it relates to the class a little bit. After a rain, mushrooms appear on the surface of the earth as if from nowhere. Many do so from a vast underground fungus that remains invisible and unknown. What we call mushrooms, mycologists call the fruiting body of the larger, less visible fungus. Uprisings and revolutions are often considered to be spontaneous. From Hope in the Dark by Rebecca Solnit. I like this in general, but I was just also thinking about it with our class in that the way we're on Zoom kind of feels like we're invisible and no one would even know what we were talking about. And yet we were having this experience that was affecting us in these different ways. Um, and yeah, with that, I will pass to Amber.
Thanks. Wow, yeah, it feels so impossible to say anything that would sum up the experience of the past 10 weeks, but I just feel really grateful to all of the students and participants. I think talking about these topics in class every week and hearing your ideas during office hours also deepen my own love practice and my ideas of what love and code as love can be. And recently, inspired by the class, I started, where is it? Started working on this project, which is basically an AI trained text generator that generates letters about a future without prisons. And it's trained on text by some Black feminist writers that have been really significant to me. So this one says, after the last prisons fell, the salt of their ties to each other, we bound up with one another. After the last prisons fell, friends, my friends are there. Um, and yeah, I think I came into TAing this class with a lot of questions about the ways that the concept of love is often weaponized, especially in classrooms or nuclear families or the nation state, and used as an excuse to like control or surveil people. But I think in the process of this class, it's reminded me that the practices of love that feel really true and honest to me are also practices of freedom dreaming and abolition.
Thank you so much, Amber and Max. Okay, I'll share my screen again. On the first day of Digital Love Languages, we asked, in our memory of past and present, what have been and are becoming digital love languages for you? We considered what kind of relationships can hold love for you. How does the digital harm and how does it hold? In the transition between sharers today, between thinking the last person and inviting the next person, I will share an example of a digital love language, either from this activity that we participated in on the first day of class, or inspired by what the students shared in that moment today. Digital Love Languages is a class that rests on the premise that a world where all our software was made by people who love us is possible. This class also comes from an ongoing realization in my life that the most important things I've ever learned were learned from relational dynamics, were learned from within relational dynamics of love and support. At once a revelation and a banality that my highest educational degree was earned not from a university, but from my friends, parents, and lovers. It is from here that this class comes from a space of expressive gratitude towards you, my friends and collaborators, and teachers for sharing in knowledge with me, for making me believe in learning as an accessible space of pleasure, exploration, and intimate communion. So hello to my friends, parents, lovers, and the friends, parents, and lovers of participants here that are in this chat today. We welcome you and we thank you. So many of the things that we will be shared today that will be offered by the students will be things that they have never tried before. So many of the students had never written code before taking this class. And additionally, the things that they will offer to us will be new to everyone because class time was so limited that there was never a day that we spent all sharing together. So this will be a really sincere experience of newness for each other in learning about our collective reflections on the experience. So in that way, we, the presenters, the students, the stewards, are in the same boat as you, the panelists, in seeing these presentations and sharings for the first time. I welcome you both in the Zoom and on the Twitch to use the chat to share words of affirmation, to ask questions, and share reflections on anything that you see here today. I will try my best to be active in both chats to share links that students share, and there will be time at the end of the sharing for audience participation, mostly text-based. So if you have a question for a particular student based on something that they shared, you can put it in the chat right away, and then I will be keeping track of them. And we maybe will have some time to answer them at the end. Please join me in welcoming our first student sharer, Yatu Espinoza.
Oh, let me share my screen. Awesome. So let me know if you don't see a green screen.
We see it.
Thank you everyone for being here. I want to start us off by conducting kind of a ceremony, if you will. It's going to require your physical hand, attention, and thoughts. If you see the green screen, I ask that with your hand, you put one of your fingers on the screen. We are now entering. Place your second finger on the screen. Let's continue contributing by adding the third finger. Let's introduce the fourth finger. And then finally the fifth. And if your screen has the size for it, rest your palm on it too. And once this is done, please close your eyes. We have now all entered a deeper layer of connection, one where we are in each other's imagination. I once mentioned in class, if we were all thinking about a memory we share, are we together? So I ask everyone to take a moment to think about a memory of when they felt loved. Open your eyes and keep your hands on the screen. Thank you for this energy. You can now raise one finger. Now the second finger. As we return, the third finger. Drifting one more with the fourth. And let go of the last one. We're back. I welcome the chat as a place for anyone to express how that felt. I won't be able to read them all out loud, but others can read the expression to themselves, now this time, asynchronously. With this, I would like to end with an acknowledgement. Digital love languages to me is an experience, always an experience. When Melanie describes an example of digital love languages as transitions for my next fellow classmate and lover, know that our experience within this realm of digital love languages is kind of a reverberation down a network of people. And it's awakened by our connections of memories of our past love experiences. It serves as a possible guide for future ones. I hope this ceremony could be reflective of such, where we all connected, imagined, and then now awakened now with all the other connections of what people describe as love, and more specifically digital love languages. Thank you all for this experience. And with that, I'm gonna have special, there are some people I would like to say thank you to. And I'm gonna put it in the chat here because I wanna be mindful of everyone's time, and on their own time, they can look at that. So, and also encourage everyone to like read what other people felt and see if any of that resonates with you. And the last thing I will say is like a personal statement is, Melanie once said, we're always programming. As in, some people think that when you write code, that's when you are programming. And I had this thought of making it on a website, and I made it on a keynote, but I've still programmed it. And so keep in mind that for all those who may not be aware, you are always programming by your actions, and a code isn't just some words in a computer. It's some things that we live by and abide by. So thank you for participating in the ceremony with me, connecting with each other's imagination. And I left a link for everyone I'm thankful for in the chat, and that's all.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Yatu. And I really encourage you to see the link that Yatu shared, and later I'll put in a link that has a list of projects and ephemera from Digital Love Languages. And there are some other things that Yatu contributed and made during the class that I really recommend that you check out. A digital love language is communing with 115 people across Zoom and Twitch, all touching their fingertips to their respective screens. An act of social programming performed by Yatu. And with that, I would like to invite our next sharer, Aaliyah George.
Thanks, Melanie. And thanks, Yatu. Like everyone's saying, that was an amazing experience. And yeah, I want it to happen again. It should happen at the end again. So I'll share my screen. So today I'll be talking about my project, an ongoing project called Device Healing. My project Device Healing stems out of a need to feel more embodied and feel more holistic in my being in digital spaces, and to engage the mind, body, and soul, because I feel like these are experiences that we don't often have in these environments. And with rational thought processes gaining merit over the spirit and the body, those aspects of ourselves are often rendered invisible or ignored. So this is a website that I'm working on, Device Healing, Heal the Energies in the Networks. Device Healing calls for enchanted new rituals and interaction with mystical energies in digital spaces that clear and renew the energies of human and more than human agents. So you'll be able to choose your device, and this will be ongoing, and it will be based on the natural elements that are components within our devices and that can be charged and healed and also connected with the spiritual energies. So every class, I was inspired to think of technology otherwise, speculatively of possible futures and alternative ways of being. I believe to think and practice radical otherness, we need to re-enchant our lives and the materials that we engage with. Perhaps creating stories and magical realities are not creations at all, but a discovery of what we've forgotten. The transformation from rational consciousness to the mythical and magical is underway. Rituals, mythology, and magic can be brought within the human-computer relationship. Can we code with invisible energies between elements and bodies? Are the divine or ancestral forces in the networks? And can there be transmission of spiritual energies in cyberspaces? I believe yes. So now being closer to our devices more than ever, I think it's important to know that our devices are sensing bodies and that they absorb energies. They absorb the energies that we inhabit, constant news cycles, energies of incoming text messages, calls, video chats, and social networks. So device healing is an in-progress project that houses rituals and healing practices that heal the energies in our technology and the connections that we have across them. In discussions with digital love language peers, I was reminded that the machine's components are earth elements. Sapphire and rare earth elements, metals, are two components of Apple products. So there are many things that we can connect with the higher frequencies that are all around us. And I think that sound is a specific way that I like to engage with that. So it's really cool. There's this frequency, it's 528 hertz, and it's the love frequency. And the love frequency is able to add love into the components of your devices and networks of the webs that it's connected to. So today, I'd like to initiate a ritual across our computers and devices, and the spiritual energies and the healing energies will infiltrate it and hopefully clear some of the negative energies or the old energies that are within them. So love frequencies is one of the rituals, and I plan on adding more to them, and having it like an archive of the ways that we can heal with our devices. So I'd like everyone together, if we can think about what is loving to us, and really connect with and feel our desires and what we love. I think for me, over past quarantine, it's been a process of figuring out what I really align with and resonate with. And hopefully that the love frequency can help us and our devices in gaining more love. So I'll play the music, and then you can sit back, relax, and feel the loving frequencies. You can write down what's coming up for you. You can write it in the chat. And I'd love to know what's coming up with the love frequencies. So I think, this can go on for 2 hours. And I think it'd be really cool to have this kind of like start the day for your device or end the day for your device. And then seeing all of those energies and see what happens if, mystical things happen on our devices. So the website will hold more rituals and digital and physical for people to heal their energies in their digital spaces. And I'll also work on more like sound compositions that focus on the frequencies also. And hopefully it can be something that people visit every day and a ritual to do. So I'd just like to leave everyone with a quote. It's by India Maye, a poet. Who are you truly? You are energy, that's all. You must begin to own a strong sense of self that is not influenced by anything else. You are energy. And thank you.
Thank you, Aaliyah.
Thank you, everyone.
A digital love language is sharing an archive of device healing meditations with 115 people over Zoom and Twitch. Please join me in welcoming Claire Zhang to share next.
Hi, I'm Claire, and this is from our very first project when we did a liberatory learning environment and our ideas of that. And I took an illustration where, like, my idea of love often manifests in terms of light, and I illustrated light as a very soothing and egg-shaped kind of illustration, and juxtapose it with a poem that I wrote thinking about what a liberatory learning environment would be like. So I'd like to read that. Goes, soft light wavers through willow whips, dappling loose leaf on flap. Light and shadow in the same circle, words a feather on pucker lips. Gently sleeps, dreams keeping close by. Sound, a stroke, a caress, consciousness extending past double self. I will cut my words 2 inches above the end. They will mend and grow with patience. I will not fear the word love. I will instead remember beyond my fingertips, there is breath. And in beginning the class, I was thinking about it in a very conceptual kind of way. Obviously, I haven't learned much about how I was supposed to think about, or how I wanted to think about the internet and digital love languages itself. And throughout the class, like, I kept returning back to this poem and thinking about how when I had no connection to it at all, how I was thinking about it was through all this like light and nature and just like wind imagery and stuff like that. And that freedom through digital love languages for me manifests in a way where things grow like organically. And thinking about how we can use organic imagery and organic inspiration for uniting like my practice as both a writer and a designer. And yeah, thank you so much to everyone and for this. I'm really grateful for this class, and it's transformed the way that I think about it as a space. Think about both the internet and just the digital space as an actual physical space. And that's really changed the way I think. Thank you.
Thank you, Claire. An example of a digital love language is planning the future and our dream lives together over text. Please join me in welcoming the next chair, Julia Bell.
Hi everyone, I'm also going to share my screen. Great. So, sorry, I'm positioning the Zoom bar. So this is my digital love language. I made this based on the prompt that was code as a gift. So thinking about how you could use code to give someone a gift. And I ended up making this space for my friend Gretchen and I, and today I'm going to share that space with this group. So this idea came from a conversation I had with my friend Gretchen, where she was saying how sharing online content and making recommendations for people is her love language. And so I started thinking about how that is such a big part of our relationship. But there isn't really a place to do that. Or well, there are many platforms, but there aren't many places. And so I decided that I wanted to make a place for us to share content together. And so I started with the question of what makes a digital home, but I think that to actually build a home takes time and reciprocity. So the question kind of became, what is the architecture of a digital home? And then I ended up with this home, which I've made here and I've shared with her. And so this is how I'm going to experiment, or well, we're going to experiment with sharing content with each other. So this is our content cottage. And the way that I hope that this works is that when we come into the house, we'll be outside seeing this floor plan. And then when we go in through the front door, we'll see this form, which we can use to put links in here, and then write something about them and then place them in one of these rooms. I won't do it right now, but we've already started using it, so I can show what it looks like when we've done it. So say, for instance, we've put stuff in the bedroom, and then one of us can go and see what the other person has left here. And so she left me this artist website by Petra Courtwright. And so a lot of what I was thinking about when making this was kind of trying to think about what makes a place online. And so I was thinking about different things of why a place is so important. So first of all, like having just like a stable piece of architecture that you can return to and use to contextualize what's inside of it. So say, for instance, like if you were looking at a painting hanging on the wall of a museum, that context would change how you think about the painting versus if it were tacked on a bulletin board in someone's house. I also like the idea of having a place that was more permanent, that you could come back to over and over again, and that you could use as an extension of your relationship with that person. So as you're building this place together, you're also building your relationship with them. And so I was pretty inspired when making this by, well, a few things, but thinking about the platform Arena, which we both use, like how it cultivates a calm and quiet space. I wanted to take that energy, but make something that was just for the two of us alone, that we could share with each other. And so I shared this with Gretchen, and we've started using it, as you can see. And I think that a lot of what I've said, I guess, are kind of half answers to the question of how to build a digital home. I think that like we'll keep exploring this as this grows. I mean, I think that we've talked about other things that we could add, like there could be a new wing of the house that we add when she starts grad school to put her readings in. We could like have a swimming pool and only put our dreams in the swimming pool. We could have a fireplace to burn things. Like there are a lot of places this can go. And yeah, I think that this is a partial answer to the question of what is the architecture of a digital home. And then I think the question of what actually is a digital home is something that we would explore when we're actually using this. And yeah, the only other thing I wanted to share is that, so there's a room in here that you can't see in the floor plan. And it's the man cave. And so you can actually post things here, but if the URL contains the letters MAN in consecutive order, then they'll go here. So this, I kind of cheated because I found this article about Paul Manafort having gout to test it. And here it is, just to show you this small corner of our home. And then to close, this is our booking information. So when thinking about creating a digital place online, it felt important to say that we were renting it, because as Melanie said in their intro, that when we're online, the space that we're taking up is not something that we can entirely see and not something that we can presume to own. And so this is, the concept for this is a rented summer cottage. To conclude, thank you to everyone in the Digital Love Languages class for thinking about this question of what makes a digital home and coming back to it so often, especially for everyone who has helped me resist defaults and cliches when thinking about this idea. And thanks for coming into our home.
Wow, thank you so much. For this transition, I'll share a message that someone put in the Twitch chat, and because I know a lot of you won't be able to see that, and it also won't be recorded. So Tayun says, I love the references and execution of the cloud cottage and how personal and intimate it is. A digital home usually feels like Google Home, a surveillance device, or a sterile cloud storage, but this project feels closer to how I'd like the architecture of the web to be. And totally rolling out the door, I think rolling on the floor laughing because of the man cave. So please welcome me in inviting Kaylee Streeter to share next.
I'm going to share my screen. And here we are in a map to my brain. And I'd like to share this not as a website or an empty page on the internet, but this is a special map that holds links that I've been collecting for the past 8 weeks in a bookmarked folder called Article Website Dump. And rarely do I have the time to go through my links calmly and without an agenda or without looking to share them with a specific person with a specific thing in mind. So this map makes it difficult to find exactly what you're looking for. And in doing so, it invites you to interact and it invites you to be patient in the same way that my brain works. One time, a friend told me that they wish they had a guide on how to love me. And this is not quite that guide, but I hope that it helps opening tabs and conversations that I'm thinking about. And equally awkward to searching through this website for my links and messages is my code. This class has invited me to think about coding as something that can be not efficient and very messy. And so my code reflects just that. And a lot of conversations we had in class and with Emma Ray is about commenting and how commenting can be an act of love in itself. But the comments for the map to my brain are not to collaborate or teach or allow me to find where I am within Glitch. It's to go on in tangents. It's to thank people for helping me. And it's hidden throughout my links and text in the same way that my thoughts are hidden in my open tabs in my brain. And so please take a minute to read my thank yous and acknowledgements. And then also with my remaining time, I would like to give everyone a chance to close the tabs on their computer that they no longer need. And maybe one day there will be a Chrome extension for this that allows you to thoughtfully and carefully decide which tabs to close, which tabs are necessary. My Zoom is not necessary anymore, so I can gently close this. Do I need to send something to a friend? Do I need to revisit an idea I recently had? Do I need to take a note? Or do I need to leave it in the map to my brain and come back to it another day?
Thank you, Kaylee. A digital love language is gently closing your tabs, but not the one that includes source code as thank yous on love notes. Please join me in welcoming Jean Cho to share.
Hi, everyone. I'm just going to share my screen. So I made a little slideshow, and today I'll be sharing some of the code that I made as a gift for my parents. So one way that we practiced using code as a way to express love in this class was to make folder poems. And folder poems are poems that make use of the file structure on computers, which add a bit more interactivity as the reader navigates through it by clicking the folders or typing in commands in the terminal. So my gift to my parents was a folder poem. So for some background, I'm now a freshman in college and I just finished moving into my dorm, just back here. And as a little send-off, I wanted to make my parents something special. So I made a folder poem entirely using command line script in my terminal on my Mac, where I reminisced on the past 18 years of my life growing up under them. So how I shared the poem with them was I just downloaded the poem on their personal computers without telling them, so that when they do happen to find it someday, it can be a nice little like sentimental surprise. And on the left here is a screenshot of the general layout of the poem. I have like, hi dad and hi mom. And so I showed this using the tree command, which was gifted to us by Melanie when we were learning about folder poems. And the text files here are actually just little notes or like letters. So I guess this is less of like a folder poem, more of like a folder collection of love letters using the file structure. And here on the right, I included just a bit of one of the text files that is in here for my mom. So it's thingsI'llmiss.txt. I made both my parents each their own things I'll miss, just because I wanted to like personalize it to each of them. And so I'll just read some of the stuff. So like I have long walks with no destination, spontaneous TJ Maxx strips, dyeing our hair together, squishing Ivy. Ivy's our cat together. Long talks, laying in your bed randomly, complaining to my brother Benny, to you. And then this is Korean, but specifically your myochi, specifically your oding, and like just, this is just some of it. But so I didn't want to make anything too like, anything that I included in this things I'll miss thing too big. I wanted it to be like little moments that we share together occasionally. So it was more of like, when they do find it, she'll just remember this little thing that we used to share together when I used to live with them like full time. And even though I do not have any control over when they see this, for this particular file, I kind of hope that they see it like later in the future, like maybe a couple of years later, so that when they do find it, it can be like a nice little memory thing. And I have some homework. So I'm assigning all of you the project of making a folder poem for someone in your life that you appreciate, but you don't let them know enough. And it doesn't have to be a folder poem. It could be like an email or a text or a DM or like snail mail, just anything, just a random act of kindness to brighten their day. And lastly, I just wanted to thank Melanie and all the stewards and guest speakers at Digital Love Languages. The only other programming course I had taken prior to this class was a little like boot camp for Swift. So I went into this course with pretty limited knowledge on coding, but with a general idea of how the computer science or like tech world works. And what really struck me for this class was the way in which we were taught coding in digital love languages. Melanie and the guest speakers really focused heavily on using code, not just for a physically profitable outcome, but rather as a means to express love and care and like kindness, which is really different from what I had initially thought about like computer science being. And I just wanted to close by thanking everyone for showing me a different side to the world of computer science, and that code can be a loving thing.
Thank you, Jean. A digital love language is definitely leaving a surprise folder on your parents' computers filled with folder poetry. And I'll read a message from the chat. So Azur says, I'm a mom of 9 years old and I love this. Please join me. Oh, it's my turn next. Okay, so I'm going to share our class webzine and invite, after I share a little bit about it, I'll invite Max, Kara, and Masha especially to add on to how I speak about it. So incredibly, when I was planning this class, I didn't imagine that we would have this event. I thought that our sort of culmination of digital love languages would be a collective webzine. But what happened was that we did both. So we both have this sharing event to commemorate and our graduation of digital love languages. And we also have a webzine. So I'll share with you that now. And it has a unique URL, of course, but I just want to point it out that on the class website, it will always be linked there. So if you forget the link to the zine, you can just find it by going to our class website. And while we're here, on our class website is all of the materials that were shared, almost all of the materials that were shared in this class. So, there's a way in which you can almost take this class now and even like after the fact. There are some private things, but a lot of it is just really wide open. We also have a blog that is truly incredible. So I really, both for the students, I think that some of the students might not have seen that there are blog posts here. And so I really recommend that you check them out too. So we have a blog here. And then back to the webzine. So the webzine is here. It is the URL digitallovelanguages.github.io, and I'll put that in the chat as well. So welcome to Landscapes of Love. Landscape of Love is a webzine made by the students and stewards of the Digital Love Languages class of 2020. This webzine is a collaborative, non-hierarchical collection of the materials, projects, and ephemera gathered over the course of 10 weeks. Here are some sketches of the initial planning meeting from which this space was conceived, drawn by Masha, Kara, and Hillary. Max, G, Amy, and myself and many others contributed code and blobs to these living landscapes. So these are Masha's and Hillary's drawings based on the initial conversation around what the webzine would be, which I wasn't even present for. And this is what it became. So you can just click on these blobs and find materials, projects, ephemera, homework assignments, responses to prompts from the whole class. So this is a love letter to a speculative liberatory learning environment. These are some vibes that we collected. We have quotes, looks, vibes, more looks and vibes. So there was one assignment where we created a generative message in Python and we sent it to another student. So that channel, that collection is called Passing Notes. So we pass notes in class. There are also all the people of the class and how they describe themselves. This is a digital love project by Yatu, the website for their mom. This is a reflection on what learning, growing, reaching, and extending their code learning journey felt like. This was Max's mushroom, and it kind of is endless. So much material was generated over the course of 10 weeks. Max, Kara, Masha, who thought a lot about this and worked a lot on it. Would you like to add anything to what it felt like to collaborate?
I think it was really amazing that I think Kara can speak more to that, but the blob was an accidental starting point that really took off and seemed to have resonated with everybody in the further meetings, but it was not, it was like on the margins of the first conversation.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that my gesture for any object at all was like this like an abstract shape that folks sort of just got into as a way of sort of creating this landscape. And I don't know, it's kind of an interesting way where like a seed is planted and then sort of expands. And I think in a lot of ways it's also a reflection of lots of moments in the class where, you know, something happens and then people take it and can be expanded upon in different ways. And yeah, it was a fun experience to sort of create this like conceptual idea of, or trying to conceptualize things that maybe we were feeling and into a space and have collaborative calls about it and such. So yeah.
Max, would you like to share?
I don't have too much to add. It was yeah, it was an interesting like kind of social experiment of just watching people change things too. It made me more interested to see just like when people can just add whatever they want to a website and like seeing what it becomes.
Yeah. Yeah, it was really quite something to for this class to learn to code websites over 2 days total, 2 or 3 days total. And then just thinking of myself, if I had spent 3 days learning how to code a website for the first time and then was thrown into a collaboration with 34 other people, all contributing to the same GitHub repo, and I hadn't really learned GitHub before, I could imagine like it's just such a, yeah, I really just appreciate of the peers here who helped work on it with me in any capacity and take that leap of faith to try something after you just learned it. It's a really honor to collaborate with you. So please welcome me in inviting Rox Ravago to share.
Thanks, Melanie. Can you guys?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. Thank you, everyone. It's been super amazing seeing what everybody has done and thought about. I'm gonna start off with this. Can anybody guess what this is a picture of? You can just shout it out. No one? Okay.
Wait, I have a guess.
Okay, guess.
I don't know, but is it like the post office's website, like their first website?
No, actually, this was the very first e-card invented in 1994 by a woman, Judith Donath, who was then a doctoral candidate at MIT. So in her thesis called Inhabiting the Virtual City, she described the electric postcard as a simple concept. On the postcard site, there are a number of images. You choose an image, you write a message, you fill your recipient's email address and send it off. The recipient is automatically notified by email that a card awaits them. Upon going to the site and giving the claim number to the postmaster, the recipient is presented with a page showing the chosen picture and message. By 1996, so 2 years later, nearly 1.7 million electronic postcards had been sent. And so they became really popular because they were a little gift that you could send to check in with someone and keep in touch without having to say much. As more people used it, though, remember when e-cards were a thing in the 2000s, as Amber and I were talking about, it really, sometimes some could argue that it replaced other modes of keeping in touch that required more time, thought, and energy. And e-cards started to feel more impersonal and something like an afterthought. As I thought about what I wanted to share for our last digital love languages class, two questions kept coming to me. To quote our steward, Melanie, what if the software we used was made by the people that love us? And to quote a project that was shared in class, what might a generous and thoughtful interface look like? Inspired in my own life in making a care package with my friend Selena for our dear friend Daphne, who recently got married, I then married the original idea of an e-card with the analog idea of a care package to create a corner of the internet where e-cards could have a renaissance by intentionally reversing their make it quick and easy mentality and create instead a deliberately slow and thoughtful experience of making, giving, and receiving care packages online. So this is a care package from me to you, to my digital love languages class. Oops. Sorry, as I'm navigating. Okay. This is a compilation. This is a compilation of things I made for you and the things we made for each other. I hope that you can handle this with love and care. Again, to quote Melanie, if the software we used was made by people that love us, they would take all of their favorite lines from poetry they love, remix those words from that body of text to create new poems, record themselves reading out loud, and pass that note to someone. And in this case, I had done it for Leah. They would share screenshots of love looks and quotes to someone. I love this one especially. Love, not just a feeling one has, but also as a marker for a whole constellation of things that one wants to experience extremely. Love approximates a space to which people can return, becoming as different as they can be from themselves without being traumatically shattered. It is a scene of optimism for change, for a transformational environment. They would share in real time what a digital love language was starting to look or feel like for them, and consequently cause Google Slides to glitch and freeze up because all of the love pouring into one slide. They would write folder poetry for each other. Folder poetry is a practice of using the structure of a computer folder organization as a new kind of poetic form, like the haiku, or iambic pentameter, by naming and nesting folders and files we can create, unfolding narratives, rhythmic prose, and choose your own adventure poetry. They would send more love looks. Because I accidentally clicked one, it was initially something that I had created on Craigslist, where you can generate new fake Craigslist postings out of randomly pulled real-time Craigslist titles. And I had read something on the misconnections page of Craigslist where it said "girl on the G train," and I thought that was super poetic, that I wanted to recreate it. They would also hand code round robin a webzine as a loving practice of abolition. So each person takes one person's code, add to it, pass it to the next person until we've all added a little bit of code to each other's, and then bring it all together in a collective zine. They would stretch and grow and expand what they could do and write an algorithm that waxes poetic, generating completely new sentences out of large body of poems scraped from a website. So this is one I called A Beautiful Soup. And I wanted to read 2 lines that I found really poetic out of creating this. And devout with insomnia, perfect on the train, I thought one night it was you. We simply blur into the larger soul 2 souls can make. So this is just a sentence, but what it kind of took to get there was all this work in which Max patiently and Melanie patiently helped me figure out how to create an algorithm that essentially is like a second hand that clicks all of the web page links in one web page and then scrapes all of the poetry text to then create a huge body of text where you can pull from and create new poems. They would create a landscape of love webzine, which you guys had just seen. More love looks. Last but not least, Melanie had mentioned this before, but this class was something super extraordinary for me because it helped me really rethink what code could be and what could we make with code. And I think in the last 10 weeks, we were able to use this code to build an internet that loves. And so I wanted to thank a lot of people that helped me create this project. And I'll send it in the chat, but I want to end with a thank you to my digital love languages class for sharing and cultivating a thoughtful and generous space that loves, heals, and affirms. Your presence and your questions gave life to what's possible, and you've expanded my eyes, my mind, and my heart forever.
She is to respond, love. She is, I told you I was not afraid to love you. She is, instead of reacting blindly, she is, this is not curiosity. She is understanding. She is writing art. She is find the balance. She is grateful. She is much of my confusion and sadness came from. She is, I fell apart many times. She is burdens, is what will make us feel lighter and more. She is, you have a right to me. She is an agreement to make. She is wars.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Rox. Thank you so much. To transition to the next person, I will share that one of the first times that I ever heard of a piece of code called a love letter was a project that Emma Ray made that Rox based their love letter on. So it's very beautiful for me to have been partly inspired by Emma Ray's love letter to Code Societies when Emma was a student in Code Societies and I taught it in 2018, become a love letter that Rox made for this class, Digital Love Languages. So just really like special to me and like in a full circle kind of way. Yeah, so thank you Rox and Emma. Please join me in welcoming Ingo Rashka to share.
Hello.
Hello.
How is everyone doing? Okay, so I'm not screen sharing, I'm just doing my screen. Everyone seen it? Okay, thanks.
Cool.
So mine's really small and the presentation's probably gonna be short, but this is my project. It's this shape. So this is a shape that you can cut out and you'll get this. And you can put it together like this and it makes this shape. So this is supposed to be a little model or a representation of the geometric shape that your head makes in relation to a screen, or even an image. It doesn't even need to be a screen. Anything flat or any type of image, any flat art will put you in this relationship with it. So it's like the cone of vision, how if you can see anything, that means it's within a cone from your eyes. This is the reverse cone. So this is the reverse cone of vision, and it's pointing to the fact that you're trapped with the art by art. So like every time you look at a screen, every time you look at a painting or a book or anything, it's putting you in the reverse cone. So that's just a thing that I thought of, and I like it because I just like thinking about how things relate to each other physically, and especially when you're in the digital world, things get so abstract, and like I like to keep it very I don't know, grounded or whatever. Or I don't like to, but it's refreshing to remember the physicality. So that's why I like, Aliyah, your presentation, and Melanie is talking about how everything in the computers comes from the earth and comes from the ground. I guess this is a similar, just in terms of thinking about where you are physically, and I always think about that because, you know, like if you're in bed and you wake up in the morning and you go on your computer, sometimes that keeps me there for hours, and I'll remember the reverse cone and I'll think, oh my God, get me out of here, and then I'll leave. So that's what it is. It's a little reminder, and I put it on my website so you can download it and cut it out if you want. But another reason I like it is that you don't need to look at the image. You know exactly what the shape it is, because it's a really simple shape, I think. Like I just freehanded it. Yeah, that's my thing. That's my presentation.
Thank you, Ingo, for the reverse cone. Yes, please welcome the next chair, M.E. Sparks. Emmy, are you on mute?
She might be.
Oh, there we go. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. And I'm going to try to share my screen again. And there we go. So I wanted to start, I guess, at the website that I've reached through a lot of play and experimentation, and maybe work backwards from there and just kind of speak to my process and some ideas I was working through. So my website that I've made as a gift for today, I took the prompt to make this gift for a fellow artist, or really a gift for anyone who finds themselves sitting in their studio, sitting at their desk, sitting at their kitchen table and looking at a blank page, a blank screen, or a blank canvas, and kind of wondering what next. So I wanted to give a gift to that person to kind of move past that feeling, perhaps. So the website at this point is called Blank Page Melancholy. I wanted to make a single page site just to kind of explore how to make a web page. I haven't worked with programming or code before this class. So the single page that you enter says, no need to come up with an idea right now or today or tomorrow. Rest, put down the brush, wander without consequence or commitment. There are no promises to keep. Read, observe, or simply examine the undersides of your eyelids. And if the viewer chooses to, they can then explore different buttons on the site. And I wanted it to kind of be optional and not, not a must-click button. Anyway, so each button has a Python-generated poem. I was quite taken with the natural language processing that we were learning and the poem generator codes in Python that we were writing. So each of these words on the site moves through different ideas, reminders, reassurances, or just kind of open texts, I suppose, for the viewer. There's, I think, about 8 kind of hidden within here. The 2 texts, here, maybe I'll go smooth this for now. The 2 texts that I was working with from, when I was thinking about the blank page melancholy, it reminded me of a term from Jan Verwert when he described the melancholy conceptualist. So on my site, I kind of have a backside page that isn't really meant to be an obvious entry, but is kind of like a works cited, a little bit of an about. So Jan Verwert describes the melancholy conceptualist in this quote here. The pressure to succeed, which modernism's dedication to relentless avant-gardism has already introduced, is now experienced even more acutely. As a result, we now have the tragic figure of the melancholy conceptualist, alone in an empty room, waiting desperately for a revolutionary idea to come to him or her, or worse still, waiting for the next idea to come, trying to reinvent their work after their first success. And when I first read that in a really great essay of his, it was so heartbreaking, and I felt so strongly for the melancholy conceptualist. So this site, I suppose, is kind of for them to say, no need to come up with that idea right now. It's the fun part of the site, I suppose, is like seeing the generated text. So I just screenshot a few that really sparked an excitement for me. So I'll just go through them maybe slowly. You can read on your own. Oh, and so the texts that these are drawing from and using through the natural language processing and the poem, kind of the poem generator code that I wrote, the texts are from Jan Verwert's essay that I was initially referencing, and also from an essay by Brioni Fair about Eva Hess's studio practice. And I wanted to use those 2 texts as source texts because they spoke to the way artists exist in their studios. They both spoke to the way ideas are generated and how we how we think through materials. So I thought that the language and the vocabulary in those texts fit really nicely with the kind of random generation that I was working with in these poems. And I would love to share this site because it is really nice to just go through these and see the differences that are generated as different words are replaced. Right now it's hosted on a local server on my own computer because Glitch didn't seem to want to work with the spacey library that comes with the natural language processing. But once I get this hosted on an external server, I will share a link because again, going through these on your own, I think is really nice. There's just a couple more. I liked this one as my final image of, again, these are just screenshots of the site, but close the blinds, turn off the project, red references, warm opposite. In this darkness, I imagine I sleep. And it was one of the final screenshots I took and I thought, oh, that's a nice closing message. Yeah, so that's that. And I just want to say thank you to Melanie and the stewards and the students of Digital Love Languages through this project and through this course. I think the biggest thing I've learned is to remind myself to be open and vulnerable and kind of remember that, you know, what I thought were my abilities or skill levels or that I can exceed those and I can push beyond those. And having never coded or never programmed before, that was, I think, the most exciting part of being here, and realizing that I can do these things. And I think that comes with a lot of vulnerability. So Melanie created a really safe space for that. So maybe I'll end there.
Thank you, Emmy. Thank you for your vulnerability. Thank you for trying, for learning, growing, reaching, and extending. It's really cool that you hadn't coded before and shared this with us today. Someone in the chat said, I love how patience is continually explored through all of the digital gifts shared today. And yeah, patience or a kind of non-efficiency was something that we talked about a lot. And with that, I would like to offer, inspired by Emmy's sharing, that a digital love language is a button that you don't have to click. Please join me in welcoming Jenny Lee. And so we'll have 3 more sharers, and there'll be time for a closer of some kind of audience participation, and I'll really leave that up to everyone to share things in the chat, to ask questions. Yeah. So please welcome Jenny Lee.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Before I start my screen share, I would love for everyone to do a little activity with me. I'm going to drop a link into the chat for all panelists and attendees, and it's going to be a collaborative playlist on Spotify. So if you have a Spotify account, if you could please follow that playlist, and in the next minute and half or so, add 1 or 2 songs that you would love to share with everyone in the group. And I will check back in after. Okay, so don't worry if you haven't gotten a chance to add a song or you don't have one that you immediately want to add right now. But let me share my screen. This playlist and the link exist on a site that I coded, a very GeoCities-esque site called distance.fm. And the idea behind this was when we first started the class, Melanie asked us to consider our digital love languages, as a lot of us in the class remember. And I think the thing that I thought about immediately was how much music sharing, digital music sharing, was a part of how I express love online. Whether that be sending a loved one a song or curating a playlist for a specific somebody, or a collaborative playlist like this one. And so it only made sense that we would create a collaborative playlist together as a class, and that we share the kind of intimacy I feel when I share music with my loved ones together. And I think the thing that I really like about collaborative playlists on Spotify is that Spotify doesn't allow you to make it public, meaning if you went to my profile without the link, you wouldn't be able to see the playlist or access it. And so it really is kind of a private space, a private folder of music for anyone who has access to the link. That's currently everyone in this class and in this presentation. And so, yeah, I think the fact that you can only access it through this button that I've created, where if you click it, it will lead you to the playlist. And from that point, you can follow the playlist and add your own songs. And my kind of hope for Distance FM is that it kind of grows into like a network of DJs who share a touch point with at least one person in this group, meaning, you know, one person can share this with their loved one or a family member or someone else they want to share this experience with. And that person would then receive this Distance FM link and have access to the playlist and add their own songs. And from that point, I want this to be kind of a growing and living playlist that encompasses kind of that safe space that we've all experienced through this class. And I'm hoping as the playlist grows, so will my coding skills. And then the site itself can become a little bit more responsive and have more interactive aspects to it. But for now, this is Distance FM. And just to end, I wanted to thank Melanie and the stewards and everyone else in the class for creating such a safe space online. I really don't think that prior to this class, I was very intentional about how I navigated digital spaces. And I think that probably hurt myself and other people that I've interacted with on digital spaces in the past, unbeknownst to me. And so this class has allowed me to be more intentional and thoughtful about how I explore sharing digital spaces with people. And I'm really grateful for that. So thank you.
Thank you, Jenny. And yesterday during the sharing session, Amber was in the chat and was like, oh my God, there should be a Digital Love Languages collective playlist. And now here we have one. So thank you, Jenny. I linked it in the chats for the Zoom and Twitch. And another digital love language that was shared on the first day of class was sharing voice messages right when you wake up about your dream or initial thoughts before you start the day. It's almost like waking up next to each other. Please join me in welcoming Vanessa. Is Vanessa? or our last share, Masha and Kara. Wait, Vanessa has maybe come back? Vanessa, are you sharing?
Oh yeah, sorry, I got disconnected for a bit.
Okay. Okay, Vanessa.
Yeah.
Welcome, Vanessa.
Yeah. Hang on, let me share my screen. Hi everyone, I'm Vanessa. I'm currently based in Singapore, which is in Southeast Asia. And actually it's close to 7 where I am, so this is actually my first speech of the day. So I want to start my sharing by answering this prompt that Melanie gave us during our very first session together as a class. So in our very first introductions to one another, Melanie prompted us to say a word that characterized our past few months. So now in the very last lesson, I'd like to share with you the word that I've been thinking about and that I've been feeling that I've only now given a language for. And that word is asynchronous. So being asynchronous is as literal as being in different time zones, where the sun is always rising from where I am, but it might be setting where all of you are right now. Being out of sync also arises from coming from. So over the course of the weeks, I also started noticing different rhythms, which can mean being on different circadian rhythms as I learn to attune my mind and body to that of others from across the world. It can also refer to days when my internal rhythm is out of sync with what the world demands of me, such as work duties or other obligations. So all this to say that I've always been interested in the inevitable gulf between two people, or the disconnect within myself between my intention in my action.
Vanessa.
Yeah. Hi.
Hi. It's just cutting out a bit, but we're still with you.
Oh, okay. Okay, let me share my screen again. Sorry. Can you hear me?
Yes. It's just a little goes in and out, but we're with you.
Everyone. Oh, sorry. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Sorry.
No, don't be sorry.
So on that note, I made a news reporting bot called Mystical that's hosted on Telegram, which is something like a messaging app like WhatsApp or Facebook Messenger. So it's made for my closest friends, honoring the stories that they hold close to them, as well as the indigenous stories of my land in Singapore. So Mystical was made by scraping different web sources closest friends love, which they emotionally resonated with. So the premise is that instead of receiving pings from news channels with anxiety-inducing headlines, why not receive soft pings in the form of mini stories and happenings? I made this bot where you can send different commands. You can press start and you can trigger it to narrate a story. Yes, I also made like a mystical news channel which generates different news stories every hour. So I'll just read some. GOP voices rail against Trump. I wished it more than an unexpected visit. For the one was Singapore crushes ivory. I had a large bosom, a womanly figure. So languages and how they would like to receive love and care over the digital medium. A lot mentioned that they would like to receive personalized text messages. So I decided to put this on Telegram instead of Twitter, because Twitter, being social media, feed through to receive different information. So I thought Telegram was like a quieter platform for them as well. So it's a current work in progress, and I think as I dive deeper into Python, I hope to expand its functions and give it different commands. Yeah. So with that, I would like to thank everyone in this class who have contributed to a unique and precious learning experience that was both meditative and taught me different ways of being in sync with others through code, both virtually and emotionally. And actually, when I signed up for this class, I think one of the things I wrote was like, I wanted to learn how to create a bot. So I'm very glad that this class has pushed me in ways to program in a very safe space. So I truly appreciated that. Yeah, so that's all. Is my internet still breaking?
It's good.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Vanessa. Thank you for being in and out of sync with us. A digital love language is a soft thing, a mystical bot. And will you share the link to join the Telegram in the chat by any chance?
Yeah, I can share the news channel, but the bot isn't live yet, so I'll fix that up in a bit. Yeah.
Okay.
I'll share the news channel.
Thank you. Please join me in a warm welcome to our last Digital Love Languages cohort of Summer 2020 sharers, Masha and Kara.
Thank you, Melanie. One moment. Kara. Thank you.
Code can be performed over chat. Set different phrases, randomize phrases, define some as variables, print some later, define message equals. Kara, 9:58 a.m. Message equals love between two stones. You, 9:59 a.m. Define stone. Message. Performance. Sharing across glass flatness. Kara Holder, 10 a.m. Portal. You, 10 a.m. Insert expanding tunnel warp. You, 10:01 a.m. Define, how do you feel about these 10 weeks? Non-intimidating introduction to logic. Ways to bend logic. Kara, 10:02 a.m. Print uninhibited. Kara, 10:04 a.m. Practice equals communing across time and space. You, 10:05 a.m. We don't have to move uphill. Kara, 10:06 a.m. The stone is a memory. You, 10:06 a.m. We have windows into stony memory collections. Stone. Kara, 10:11 a.m. A module can contain executable statements as well as function definitions. These statements are intended to initialize the module. You, 10:12 a.m. Thoughts underscore from underscore 10 underscore weeks equals random dot incantation. Open. Portals underscore to underscore stones dot txt. Kara, 10:14 a.m. All memories are traces of tears. You, 10:15 a.m. Lib, common underscore new underscore language dot py. You, 10:17 a.m. What are the chances of seeing a shooting star in a city? Kara, 10:20 a.m. Shooting star equals asterisk. Less than 0.0001. You, 10:23 a.m. The universe will reciprocate. Goodbye expectations. Masha, 12:57 p.m. Code can be performed over chat. Set different phrases. Randomize phrases. Define some as variables. Print some later. Define message equals. You, 12:58 p.m. Message equals love between two stones. Masha, 12:59 p.m. Define stone. Message. Performance. Sharing across glass flatness. You, 1 p.m. Portal. Masha, 1 p.m. Insert expanding tunnel warp. Masha, 1:01 p.m. Define. How do you feel about these 10 weeks? Non-intimidating introduction to logic. Ways to bend logic. You, 1:02 p.m. Print uninhibited. You, 1:04 p.m. Practice equals communing across time and space. Masha, 1:05 p.m. We don't have to move uphill. You, 1:06 p.m. The stone is a memory. Masha, 1:06 p.m. We have windows into stony memory collections. Stone. You, 1:11 p.m. A module can contain executable statements as well as function definitions. These statements are intended to initialize the module. Masha, 1:12 p.m. Thoughts underscore from underscore 10 underscore weeks equals random dot incantation. Open. Portals underscore to underscore stones dot txt. You, 1:14 a.m. All memories are traces of tears. Masha, 1:15 p.m. Lib, common underscore new underscore language dot py. Masha, 1:17 p.m. What are the chances of seeing a shooting star in a city? You, 1:20 p.m. Shooting star equals asterisk. Less than 0.0001. Masha, 1:23 p.m. The universe will reciprocate. Goodbye expectations. You, 10:47 a.m. Always on the edge.
love languages. Digital love languages. Digital love languages. Digital love languages. It's a matter of timing. Digital love languages. It's a matter of timing. It's a matter of timing. Digital love languages. It's a matter of timing. It's a matter of timing. Digital love languages. It's a matter of timing. It's a matter of timing. Digital love languages. It's a matter of timing. It's a matter of timing. Digital love languages. Digital love languages. Digital love languages. It's a matter of timing. Digital love languages. Digital love languages. Digital love languages. Digital love languages. Digital love languages.
Wow. Thank you so much.
I have no idea what that looked like to others or sound, but
it looked great. It sounded great, and we were able to read it when you zoomed in. So thank you for doing that. It reminded me of one of my favorite pieces of writing about anything that I've ever done that was written by Amber. So I'm going to read that now because it just really reminded me of what you both shared. Amber wrote while they were a student at Code Societies, "This is hard to put into words, but I feel like Code Societies has taught me that the world is more malleable than I knew, that I have the power to influence physical and digital space, that the possibilities for speculative design and visioning are so much more expansive than I thought. Relational and digital interfaces feel more alive now. Code Societies made me realize how much trepidation or doubt I still had about interacting with my computer, with code, with the world.
I feel like it returned me to a sense of play that I had been looking for. I feel so much more possibility now in every part of my life. And they said that here, admitting that you do not understand, that you are falling short of what you wanted to do, and that you need the support of others, is a magic act of naming in itself, a way of creating the communities of learning and care that you may have been searching for, a way of refusing educational standards that expect us not to ask, not to desire, to not honor the needs of our own minds and bodies, to not admit places of confusion or unknowing. So thank you, everyone, and thank you. Thank you, Masha and Kara and Amber and everyone who shared today. I have little notes on how we'll end, and then for everyone in our attendees and in the Twitch, you have, I guess, yeah, actually we'll take a moment and everyone can raise their fingers and in the chat share words of celebration for everyone who shared. So congrats. And you're graduated, graduated from Digital Love Languages, so congrats. Thank you everyone in the chat and everyone who shared and everyone who participated in any way. I want to take this moment to thank you especially to our special guests, Emma Ray and Netta Bomani. Thank you also to Allison Parrish, Nema Gathiri, Dan Taeyang, Olivia Michaela Ross, Laurel Schwartz, Sigai Tefese, and Olive Bufu, Nahi Kim, Taeyun Choi, and Fei Lu for being direct influences and contributors on the materials shared in Digital Love Languages. Also want to thank everyone who is in non-Eastern time zones, because I can't really conceive of the mental acrobatics that you did every week in figuring out what time office hours were, what time you were meeting, what time to send me things by. So I just really appreciate that labor that was extra that you did. And I'm gonna share this document in the chat. And it is for all of our guests. If you want to reach out to anyone or want to know their first and last name, we put some of the contact info for you in this document. And I'll close with saying that as this class was a class that rested on the premise that a world where all of the software was made by people who love us is possible, I want to close by saying that in participating in this class and through the gifts that you made here and shared here today and throughout the past 10 weeks, that world is a little bit closer to being true, in that we enacted that world by making small acts of code for people that we love. And then, and then we just participated in that a little bit. It's not even a speculative thing anymore. Like we moved one step closer to it. So thank you for bringing us a little closer to actualizing that world. So yeah, I don't have anything else planned. Just invite people in the chat and students to share anything that you would like to, as we are coming to our last moments of all being here together. And although the chat, our Slack will be open and our website will still be there and our arena will still be there, this might be the last time that we're all on screens together. If anyone's in New York, let me know. I'm happy to social distance hang. And if anyone wants to meet up in any other countries that we're in, definitely reach out. Yeah. So, okay, so Taeyun asks to the students, how will you continue the practices of digital love languages after the class? It's a hard question.
I think that one part of it is that we already do it, and some of us just may not be aware. So I think it's more so building an awareness of what digital love language is and furthering our education of what that could mean. Then therefore we can see different ways of engaging in it. But I think for the most part, we all already do it and we will continue to do it. It's just how you look at it. But I know that can be like a blanket way. Welcome that can be a blanket explanation. Welcome other perspectives as well. Doesn't make mine necessarily true.
I think similar to Yatu about awareness, what I learned a lot from this class was that code can mean many more definitions. And similar to what kind of you shared earlier today, Melanie, about how this developer had like reached out to you about that thing that you'd posted, and how you're saying, you know, we're programmed to make code efficient and just deploy it, but our class has helped him see that there are other definitions of code, and then there are other ways of expressing code through, or expressing poetry through code, or art through code.
Another answer to that question from yesterday's section, a student, Ilya, is going to continue to practice digital love languages by teaching their two best friends how to code. So for everyone who's here, we'll close by taking a class portrait. So if you have a piece of pen and a paper or a favorite object nearby, just take a moment to write a message to each other that we'll hold up for a screenshot. And while you're doing that, I'll read a comment from Justine, who was a student in the Tuesday section and is live on the Twitch. Justine says, "One massive thing I took away from this course was the practice of challenging defaults. We were taught that computer screens didn't need to be rectangular or hard. They could have been translucent or round. Folders and documents on our computer screens could have been oysters, and folders could be oysters and files could be pearls. We don't need to use the defaults of the office space for our computer environments." Justine says, "So I'll keep practicing digital love languages by continuing to challenge defaults." Okay, I'm gonna write my message too. Rox in the chat says, "Yes, Justine." Justine, I know you're on the Twitch. Okay. Let me know when y'all are ready. Does anyone need more time? Yes? Okay. Give you one more.
You know if there's a way to like mirror the text?
I actually don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe we could flip the image, like in Photoshop.
Oh, like
yeah.
post.
Mm-hmm.
I think you can do it in the settings of Zoom, like in the top right, top left corner. You can click on the tick sign.
Which sign?
In the top left corner, there's like this green color tick. You can click on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can click on video. Then there's the option to mirror your video.
Oh, I got it.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, cool. I'll do
Melissa.
that too. Wow, it's so different.
Yeah.
There's a green check mark.
Yeah, it looks like a shield.
Oh, okay.
Hey.
So mirrored or not mirrored?
I guess we'll all,
No.
we will click the green check mark so that the text is, yeah, so then I won't do it in post.
Yeah, so you uncheck mirror my video.
Yeah, uncheck mirror. Does anyone need more time? No?
Mm-mm.
Okay, we ready? Command Shift 3.
I'm backwards still. Oh, never mind, I'm not.
No, you're good. You're good.
Okay, I got him.
Nice.
So yesterday we closed, I ended the Zoom on a shared breath out. So I'll do that unless someone else would like to do anything else before. We have a garden in the Zoom chat. Someone put in the Zoom chat. How does that sound? Okay, actually kind of inspired by Amber's Code Society's sharing. And I'm really good at now counting down for that because of, yeah. Okay. So I'm going to count down from 3, and then I'll inhale for, then we'll all, after I count down from 3, we'll all inhale for 3 seconds. And then during our exhale, I'll end the Zoom. Okay, are you ready? This is goodbye. Well, let's say goodbye. Okay. 3, 2, 1. Oops, it's done. Okay, we're going now. Bye.